Crystalline podcast. Crystalline podcast.
Conversations to inspire.
Hello and welcome to the Crystalline podcast, inspirational conversations with extraordinary folk. Today we had the pleasure of sitting down with Alfie Ruffell. Enjoy.
Today I am thrilled to be joined by Alfie Ruffell, the visionary founder of Rio Vitalize. His journey has been nothing short of transformative. Rio Vitalize is a wellness brand dedicated to empowering people to live a healthy and balanced lifestyle. So that is through education and creating community. But at the heart of their company is a high quality, organically farmed CBD oil. And I know they love to talk about the Rio Way of living, which we will dive into. So I'm super excited to get this conversation going, Alfie. How are you doing today?
You too. No, I'm very well, thank you, Jess. Very well. It's good to see your face again. Like I say, it's been so many years since you took off and started jet setting the world.
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day, actually. I was trying to count how many years it was, but that was around the beginning of Rio Vitalize, was it? Maybe, what, 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah, it was, 5 or 6 years. In the midst of COVID, I suppose, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that mad turbulent time.
Yeah, so from there, let's, I guess, start from the beginning. So for the listeners who might not know your story, can you share a bit about your journey and what led you to create Rio Vitalize?
Yeah, I suppose so. When COVID happened, it pushed me into Rio Vitalize. So previous to all that madness happening in 2019, I was running a company called Track Finance, which was helping young people learn how to manage and control their money and to build their credit, essentially. But that meant that I needed to build case studies in order for the business to work, which would have taken 4 or 5 years. And I was sort of 2, 3 years in, and COVID happened, and it just put a stop to what I was doing, essentially. So, but whilst I was building Track Finance, my dad fell seriously ill. You know, he was given a 2% chance of survival. He was then given 6 months to live when he was diagnosed with a triple aortic dissection. So it's the main organ that pumps from the heart and pumps blood to the brain and down to the legs. And that was split from his neck down to his hips, essentially. And they've never seen a case like it. So he's the only survivor out of 36 in the world with his severity.
Wow.
Which is quite mad, actually, because that was 6 years ago, and they writ him off, said he wouldn't be able to walk 250 yards a day, he wouldn't be able to work a day in his life again, and was basically the only sort of advice he got from St Thomas Hospital, a doctor called Dr. Selim, who's like one of the leading heart surgeons in the world, just said, go sort your affairs out. And when he come back and told me that, like, his world was over. And I know a lot, or I believe in a lot about, natural holistic health. I believe a lot in the power of the mind and self-healing. And I've watched and it's just something I've been interested into in quite a while. And so when we got told that, I was like, so what? That's Dr. Selim. He might be a leader in heart surgery, but what does he know about natural alternative wellness? What does he know about the power of the mind? So let's rule out Big Pharma and let's do our own research. Let's create our own plan. Let's believe in what we're going to do. And that was it really. From then on, I basically got to work and I studied and I researched a lot on, massive advocate for CBD, because we give my dad RSO oil, which is Rick Simpson oil. So people who don't know that, who's
Yeah.
listening, Rick Simpson is a very, very high THC and mixed with CBD, but it will get you out of your head. So you will be tripping. But listen, I've helped people by introducing them into people who sell RSO. So I'm not the seller of RSO, but I can introduce people. And I've seen countless amounts of stories now of people walking out of hospices, um, tumors shrinking in the brain, and I'll put it down to the RSO. So my dad's jumped straight onto the RSO for 6 months, and he wouldn't pick the RSO back up because it was hard. It was hard for the first 6 months. He thought he had bloody Russian spies under his bed and planting guns around his house and whatnot because yeah, because he was losing it. But what the RSO does, and it does it so well, is it communicates with your endocannabinoid system, which is the system that essentially communicates with every other system in the body. And it does it like superbly well. Um, so yeah, that was like first protocol was get him on the RSO, CBD, and CBG. So I think maybe it might be helpful. I think everybody knows the buzzword CBD now. Everybody understands it and they've heard of it,
Yeah.
but RSO, not so many people, and CBG, most people don't know what that is. And so if I just give a quick explanation on that also, just so I'm not losing any of your
Yeah, go
audience.
for it.
CBG, they call it the mother of all cannabinoids. So the reason why they call that when a plant grows up, say this is the soil, yeah, you put the seed in, and then once it breaks the soil, comes up, say if it's about 6 weeks into growth, it then starts to fire off into like 137 plus cannabinoids. They keep finding more and more. But so start of the life of the plant is CBG, and then it breaks into 137, which could be like CBC, CBDA, CBD, THC, delta 9. Like, there's so many different. Now, every single cannabinoid has its own specific healing property. But because CBG is the mother of all, they believe that CBG has the effect to be able to basically mimic a lot of the cannabinoids that are in that it produces, if that makes sense. So it's been led to believe that it can work just like RSO. Now I've seen firsthand, I don't believe that, but CBD, CBG, and RSO together is just an absolute winning
Mm.
combination for anyone who's dealing with sort of critical illness. Um, Anything for in that fact. If you've got like, excruciating pain, then yeah, CBD, CBG is good and it's a lot cheaper and it's still effective. But I'm talking if you are in all sorts and you can't get out of bed and it's just in terrible pain, it's been like it for months, then I would suggest go to the RSO. So anyway, back to the
Mm.
dad story. So we introduced RSO, CBD, CBG, and for the first 6 months he was on the RSO oil. But I also put together a plan, a natural plan, things to watch, things to listen to, things to read to get his mindset right. My just from where we're from, is Portsmouth. My dad's very poverty. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
He's a bit of
I get
a bit of
that.
it. And if you told him to hold his heart and walk into the sea and thank
Hmm.
God, universe, whoever you want to talk to, but you thank for your healing powers and you sit there and you chant that, he would have told me to fuck off. Quite literally, he would have done. Um, but when you're backed into a corner and sort of the top surgeon in the world has told you, go home, sort your affairs out, nothing anyone can
Mm.
do, you sort of just try anything, right? So
Hmm.
here's my dad's, going into freezing cold water in the sea in Portsmouth, walking in, thank you for my healing powers, holding his heart. And we would do that daily, literally every
Mm.
morning we'd get up, we'd go because he couldn't walk properly. His legs would turn into lead. because the blood just couldn't get to them.
Oh,
So we'd
yeah.
go from like one bench to another bench, and then when we sort of built up, he's like, right, now he's ready for the water, and then we'd go into the water and hold him just in case his legs would stop working, and do all of that. And you combine in that with the RSO, and then I'd also every morning at 4:30 he would watch either Heal, HEAL. If anyone wants to self heal, it's a good starting point to. It's a documentary basically by a guy called Dr. Joe Dispenza, or he at least features in it. And then The Secret, something that I've been massive believer of. It's all about law of attraction, but there's a small part in The Secret which is about health, and it's about a guy who basically broke all his bones in his body and was told he'd never be able to walk again, and he would need assistance for the rest of his life. And rather than listening to that, he visualized himself walking out of the hospital, and he done that essentially. And it's just a reminder every morning to think, wow, like we've got the power and the mind to do it, but we constantly forget that we have this power within us, or we don't know because we're just not told.
Yeah.
So we focused like a real holistic plan, not just let's get them on the RSO oil. No, right, diet change, lifestyle change, people you're seeing, people you're speaking to, what you're listening to, what you're reading, what you're watching, everything had to change for himself to be able to self-heal essentially. And I even say that with CBD is not the product that heals you, that helps you. It's CBD is basically like inputting data to be able for your ECS to communicate to your other signals. That's all it is. It just helps your main system, the endocannabinoid system, communicate with every other system. Now, you will speak to the majority of doctors in the world, and they won't even know what the endocannabinoid system is. That's how shot to bits this whole traditional pharma and how wrong they've got it. And I know you're a big believer in this as well, but they literally in the 1930s, the Rockefellers took it out of the medical literature. So you're going to go to school for 7 years and not actually realize what the main system is that communicates with every system that you're learning about. It's mental. And then you've got Riff Raff Ruffle from Portsmouth trying to tell doctors that you haven't really got a clue, because you're just prescribing something that's gonna, one, bring on something else, and two, it's not Mother Nature. It's not real. It's man-made, and it's causing epidemics around the world with health and mental health, all of it combined. So yeah, so I went on a bit of a rant and a rave then. Sometimes I'm passionate about it. I've seen my dad firsthand. I've seen countless other people's lives change from using our products, and not just our product, but like exactly what you're doing, Jess, with this whole holistic approach. Yeah, massive believer in it. So that happened with dad 6 months into COVID. My business isn't working. I'm now working on the railways, trying to just pick up shifts and money where I can to try and keep, my head above water. And the people who were supplying my dad oils reached out to me and said, do you want to get involved? Treat it as a bit of a side hustle. And at that point, because of the passion I had behind it, and I've seen firsthand, my dad's just sort of beat everything that the hospitals, doctors, and professionals were saying to him. I decided to create a brand, and the brand was secondary. Actually, primarily, we invested into a farm out in Spain, so we were growing for like 3 years. Great fun while I was growing, but we had a lot of shit go wrong. Basically, a hell of a lot of stuff go wrong. But I've learned a lot from that. And we managed to create product out of it, and enough products is still keeping me going to this day. And a great product of that, organic, natural. Where we were farming was on a biosphere reserve, which means it's on land that's protected. So by law you can't use fungicides, pesticides, any agricultural chemicals that's going to going to manipulate the plant, or yeah, basically intoxicate the plant, should I say. We had a river called the Rio Cabriel that's feeding all of our plants, which was where the name come from, Rio Vitalize. But yeah, I've been fighting for that farm to stay alive over the last 2 years, predominantly, like going for all different types of investors and this, that, the other. And yeah, it backfired. Maybe a waste of time. Waste of time. I don't like to say that because I believe everything happens for its reasons, and so I had to learn and build resilience and all of that. Say fun stuff, horrible to be honest with you, but you have to go through the motions, I suppose. But now, yeah, we've made a pivot. We just partnered with the Uruguayan government. We've got land in a place called Montevideo, which is just outside of Montevideo, a place called Punta del Este. Yeah, we've just got licensing now to work with THC, to actually grow THC, sell to Big Pharma, all this hate I have around that, but it helps the business model. But more importantly, it allows us to grow the product that we're making now, and what we're selling now. But we've also got licensing to work with psilocybin, LSD, MDMA.
Wow.
So that's only for R&D purposes and for mental health stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, that the goal is for next year is to go to Uruguay and then start our operations out there and start again, if you like. Yeah.
Wow. It's been a
Yeah.
journey, hey?
Been a bit of a
Been a
journey. Yeah,
journey.
there's been lots of stuff that's happened in between that as
Mm.
well, I suppose.
But yeah, I can just hear like passion in your voice and when you speak about it and what you want to bring forward into the world. It's
Yeah,
really beautiful to hear.
I think it's important, Jess. Like, more people need to wake up,
Mm.
and there's how are people going to wake up? As people like us doing what we're doing now,
Yeah.
and in the hope that they become passionate about it, and then they can then pass that on, and they can educate their mum and dads who are very much more hardwired than what we are.
Yeah.
um and I think it's definitely it's a generational problem. I think young people coming through with social media as well, not being spoon-fed one narrative of
Yeah.
media. I think that helps a lot. And I just think like these ancient indigenous ways of healing needs to be brought to the forefront of
Mm.
all of our minds, because let's face it, most of the indigenous practice is actually free. What
Yeah.
you do, or you can grow it yourself,
Yeah.
so it really does completely ruin the big pharma business model. But they are very much heavily invested in the media space, in the food consumption space, they've got their fingers in the
All of the
politicians'
pots. Yeah.
pockets. So they've got such a strong hold
Mhm.
on this information getting out that we've got a massive fight on our hands, if you like.
You
And
sure do.
that is what it is, like back in the 80s, it was, people knew this stuff, but instead you got glorified as a hippie. And
Yeah.
then hippies was associated with LSD. And then, people like my dad, the geezer from Pompey, who watches, channels 1, 2, 3, and 4, makes it, he's now thinking, he's only a fucking hippie, and he's useless, and he's got this, this viewpoint on this set of people who are actually
Mm.
more awake and have a
Yeah.
true understanding of what's available to us. Um, so yeah, it's a big mission, but I
Mm.
do believe we are like very much on the precipice of a paradigm shift globally. Would you agree?
100%, 100%. I feel like there's more and more people sharing now. Like you said, there are good sides to social media and that we can actually get this across to more and more people. I feel like
Yeah,
more people are like waking up to it and like hearing stories like your dad's. And it's definitely, like you said, there is this turning point that's happening and it's so needed. But 100%. But yeah, I just want to go back actually, and I'd love for you to explain for the people that don't know what the endocannabinoid system is. I don't think I even said that right then, but
Endocannabinoid, don't
yeah,
worry,
I
it's
always get it wrong.
a bit of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
So what is the endocannabinoid system? So the ECS is arguably is the most important system within our body. And so you have things called CB1 and CB2 receptors. CB1 resides in the brain, CB2 is all throughout the body. Now, what happens is when you take CBD, for example, yeah, CBD, and by the way, it has to be full spectrum.
Mm.
There's a bullshit narrative out in the UK right now, and I don't want to make this all about Big Pharma and politicians, but this will help you understand. So GWF Pharmaceutical, which sold not that long ago, had Theresa May's husband,
Mm.
big investor, right? These people put a directive out to every high street retailer in the UK that they have to only sell isolate. Now, a directive isn't a binding law. So why would these companies follow the directive? It's because these politicians have so much pull and power. So what they said is, yeah, you can sell CBD, but it has to be isolated, which means you only get CBD. But the problem is with that, the CB2 and the CB1 receptors need the other cannabinoids to be able to bind to the receptors to then send signals to the ECS for the ECS to then to be able to communicate with your cardiovascular, muscular, skeletal, all the different nervous systems, every system in the body. So and this is what's ruining the industry that I'm predominantly working in right now, is people are going to Holland and Barrett's and it's a trusted retailer, right? We all know and love Holland and Barrett's. They're the health shop, but they're selling a product that they know that doesn't work, for one, because they know it doesn't. And it's a novelty thing. And people will be like, no, I went to Holland and Barrett's, I got that CBD, and actually, no, it worked for me for the first couple of weeks. It's because it's placebo. Placebo is powerful, very, very powerful, but it's not lasting. So most people will say they've tried CBD through their trusted high street retailer and it doesn't work. So the endocannabinoid system. So we produce cannabinoids naturally. That's what we do that. And that's how we self-heal essentially, because your endocannabinoid system needs your body to produce cannabinoids in order for it to be able to keep communicating to all these other systems. So the ECS has one objective. It has one job, which is to cause homeostasis, which is a technical term for a balance. That's a little bit where like the Rio Way comes in. It's a healthy, balanced lifestyle. But yeah, the ECS needs cannabinoids. Where do we get cannabinoids from? It's not just the cannabis plant. So you get cannabinoids it's your micronutrients in foods. But the way that the Western world today processes foods, you lose most of these micronutrients. And what's inside the micronutrients is cannabinoids. So one, if you're eating processed foods, you're not going to get cannabinoids. Two, if you're using like microwaves and what's the new cookers that everyone's using? The speed one.
Oh, what, the air fryers?
Air fryers, that's it, yeah. And I was loving air fryers, by the way, when they first came out. And then I done a little bit of research and thought, shit, it's just a glorified microwave, basically. But I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But we're losing the ability to consume cannabinoids because of the Western world's diet, basically. Again, comes down to money, because it's just all about processing food and whatnot and all the rest of it. So where do we get the most cannabinoids from? It's breast milk. So we're giving cannabinoids to infants in the first months to grow healthy and strong. But yet, CBD you can't give to anyone under the age of 16.
Mm.
Now, I don't give to under 16-year-olds, but I know people who do, and I have come across some unbelievable stories of young non-verbal autistic children becoming verbal again just after weeks on the oil.
Mm.
I've had, oh, not me. I know somebody who's had a kid as young as 6 years old, eczema like from everywhere around the body, and we've got videos and pictures of this as well. And he, for about 4 or 5 years, he tried everything. Doctors could only really give him steroid creams and the odd tablets here and there, and nothing would work. 6 weeks on the oil, completely, and I mean completely, everywhere gone, and the most affected area had just turned into a scab. 6 weeks on the oil.
Wow.
But this shit works. They don't
Mm.
want us to, they don't want us to know it works though. That's the issue. We're just being censored and silenced constantly. And that's what we're up against. So yeah, so your question was the ECS, and what is it? It's your main system that regulates every other system in the body. We produce cannabinoids which send signals to the ECS to communicate with the rest. So that's probably my best explanation. I do like there's an analogy where people try and break it down. It's like CBD is the key. CB1 is your receptors. Once you have full spectrum CBD, the key, it will latch on to the receptors and it will like open the door basically for your self-healing. That's probably a good way to put it, to break it down.
Yeah. Well, thank you for explaining. Yeah, it's good to know all the systems that are running in our body, isn't it, for those that don't know. And you
Yes,
just
yeah.
touched on some like amazing stories of like who's been helped by this oil. But I'd love
Yeah.
to hear how your life has changed. So since yeah, what happened to your dad? I'm guessing obviously you implemented even more of these things into your life as well. And then
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure. I've always been like pretty active and healthy, if you like, unless it's going out on the weekend and everything goes out the window. But I've grown out of that now, I believe. Um, how has it helped me? In many ways, I suppose. I dislocated both my shoulders again. One of them weekends, drunk, trying to show off, do a backflip, doesn't work. Knocked both my shoulders out. Had to have operation. I severed both my nerves. So I've got barely a lot of lack of feeling going through my hands, and it used to feel like it was constantly like just vibrating, which was a horrible sensation. It was going on for ages. The oil helped with the nerve damage there, and sometimes you even second guess yourself because it's like going on inside your body, and like you can't definitely put something to it. You start to second guess it. Like I've helped my mum so many times. I've helped my mum with like she had this real. She's gonna hate me saying this, but she had this like horrible like skin scabby. It's gone now, so it's fine. But and it was like stopping her hair from growing. And I was like, Mum, get the oil and just topically put it on there, just rub it in and take it orally too. I promise you it will go. Well, she rings me up and like, Alf, I don't know if it's your oil. I don't know if it is, but that thing's gone. And of course it's the oil. Like
Yeah.
you've seen it, especially when it comes to skin. It's because you can't really second guess it because you can visually see it. But you do sort of second guess. But no, so the oil really helped me with that. Oils helped me just keep mental clarity, and I've got, if you haven't noticed, people, I've got a little touch of ADHD. I'll go on a little bit of tangents when I talk, and so it helps mold that, if that makes sense. It just quietens it a little bit. And yeah, like I say, helps me focus. I'm so easily distracted. It's unbelievable. So when I'm like, right, focus time, I lock in, and I at least 15 minutes to half hour before, I'll take a bit of oil, and it just helps me laser focus, I suppose. Um, how else has it affected me? Negative ways due to the business, not the product, but yeah, running this business it's been really hard. It really has. With the farm out in Spain, regulation is changing. Yeah, it ruined my business. It slandered my name in the city that we know and love.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, a lot of stories, and there's Chinese whispers, especially
Mm,
when you live in like the city of Portsmouth, which is more like a village.
yeah.
People love to hear the gossip, and they love to twist things up. And yeah, there was a time. Yeah, there's lots. I won't go into too much into it, but um, I think it's been hard. It's been a lot of lessons learned along the way. Um, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I'm a big believer in. So, and because I believe in the product so much and what it's done for my family and what I've seen it do for young children, whatever, I can't give up. I don't want to give up. Do you know what I
Mm,
mean? I feel like this is my passion and what I've been sent here to do. I don't know. Um, but it isn't just CBD what I believe in. It's everything that you're doing, Jess, to be honest with you.
mm,
It's everything holistically. There's not one glove that fits all. I'm not going to say buy the CBD and your life will completely change and everything will heal and da 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 da. No, take the CBD. It's going to help your ECS start to work and start to help cause a balance. But you also need to do this, and this. And that's why we create sort of natural wellness plans for people. We don't go in as much depth as what you do with your business, but just something to support, it's something to give on top of the CBD that we offer.
I feel it's so needed, isn't it? The whole picture, looking at it in from many different aspects. And would you say that's because I know you have the term the Rio Way of like having the balance and everything. Do you want to talk more about your Rio way of doing what
Yeah,
you
the Rio Way was just a little slogan that we were sort of saying on the farm when we was working, and it evolved into actually the Rio Way can stand for something, and what we believe in is treat holistically, naturally.
Mhm.
We don't want to be this brand which is like, let's say Nike for instance, just do it, and it's all about like just athletes, and
Mhm.
like good, massive brand, global sensation, of course, um, but that's for one type of person who wants to, work out, go to the gym, da 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 da. Now, so that's not for everybody. So what we say is we want to just be real with our audience, and especially the audience that we're targeting is it's you and me. It's our age group, people who come from working class backgrounds, and you know it's people who do like to go and let their hair down. They do might want to have a drink. They might smoke a joint. They might. We're not going to be the company that's going to. Oh, still there? Sorry,
Yeah,
I
I'm
said
still
somebody.
down.
Somebody calling me on my WhatsApp. Disappeared completely. Sorry, where was I? Train of thought's gone now.
You were just saying about it's for the people, they might want to go out the weekend, they might want to smoke a joint.
But exactly, yeah. So we're not saying like stop all your bad habits, but control your bad habits. But
Hmm.
because you need to be in control of every aspect of your life. So if you are smoking too much weed, then you need to find a balance. It's the Rio way. Go and have fun. Have a drink now and then. Let your hair down. Rewards yourself. Don't have to be like militant stickler 7 days a week. Get up at 4:30 in the morning. Like that ain't reality. And I think you lose people through that because sometimes you put a mirror up in somebody's face and they're like, well, I'm just not going to do that 7 days a week. But what we say is like, especially where we come from, Jess, it's such like a heavy drug cultured place, right? And people that I know, like my pals, like all the circles in Pompey that I know, everyone's bang at it, but it's controlling their lives. I've got so many mates who are on the verge of pissing in bags because of ketamine.
Mm.
I've got people that I've got friends who've committed suicide. So you can't put it down to just drugs, but in that moment, it helped with that impulse, I believe. So I just think like people are like looking for escapisms constantly when they're just running from themselves, which could, which I think we've all got the power inside of us to be able to manage, but you need to know how to, if that makes sense. And whether that comes down to health, relationships, careers, everything, we've all got that in us. So the Rio Way is all about lifestyle, and it's a healthy balance. Yeah, we're gonna go play up now and then, fine. But on a Monday morning, get back to it. Pour your head off the pillow. Do not look down the bottle of a drink again because you can't cope with the last few days that you've just been hanging or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's not go out every weekend and live for the weekend. No, it's find passion, it's find purpose, and it's then go out now and then and do what you do. Like I was speaking to a friend this morning, and he's got a bit of a problem. And he said, right, I'm banning myself drinking in Portsmouth. I cannot sit here and say that I'm going to go cold turkey because I have so much fun when I have a drink. But it's becoming relentless. Every time you go out in Portsmouth, it's you being dragged down this rabbit hole, and you end up doing things that in the week you're saying you was never going to do. So yeah, it's about a lifestyle change. It's about just living healthy, a healthy life in balance, I suppose.
Amazing. Yeah. I actually wanted to touch on that a bit with I guess it's not just Portsmouth, but lots of like small cities probably have the same issues that are going on in Portsmouth. But how have you found it personally, like breaking away from, like, maybe lots of your friends are still living for the weekend, or lots of people that do that in Portsmouth? How have you found it, like breaking away from that a little bit and finding the balance in your
Well,
life?
I brought myself to London, so I'm living in London now.
Okay.
That helped.
Yeah.
I do generally think you need to take yourself out of an environment because, especially me, I'm easily led. I'm a bit of a yes man. I'm not going to lie. I like to have fun, and I know a lot of people in Portsmouth, and it's very easy to be dragged into the pub or whatever it might be. Um, but how have I found it? I think firstly, I've been very fortunate enough to find my purpose early.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm proof in the pudding that I'm not looking for financial. Like, of course, I want financial gain. I want that freedom, but I've not been chasing the money. And all I've been chasing is like, how can we help do that? And so we got our men's mental health group that we run, and we've, with what I do with Rio. But I feel like most people are working in a job they don't want to do just to pay bills, earn money, and with the disposable income that they do have, they want to release, they want to have fun, which in the inner city life, that's all we know is to go and have a drink or go and get on it or smoke a joint, because it's habitual. When you've been doing it at such a young age, it's like, what else you do? I had a pal come up and see me last week, and he was like, "Come on, we'll go for a couple of beers or a bottle of wine." I was just like, "Mate, I need to be point blank with you. It's look, I don't want to drink. Like, it's early in the week. Like, I've got shit to do. I've got stuff to do tonight. I can't." And he's like, "I just I ain't seen you for ages." I went, "Yeah, but every time I see you, it's go and get on it. Can't do that anymore. And if you can't come out and see me without doing that, then you're just a sesh buddy, and you're not. You're much more than that to me. You're one of my best pals. But we've all fell into this loop of when we see each other, we go wild." And to be honest with you, I've fallen out of love with that now. I really have. And I think I've put that down to having purpose and being passionate about something. So I'm fortunate in that way. Don't get me wrong, I'll get my FOMO quite a lot. We're missing out. I tend to not look at Instagram stories on the weekend because it triggers you, and you think, I could be there, or I'm missing out, or whatever. So yeah, I think having the purpose is definitely the big driver that doesn't make me think about having to go and get smashed all the time.
Yeah, I can so relate with that as well, that
Yeah,
changing the environment if it's possible, and then finding what drives you and lights you up.
definitely.
And
it's so sad the amount of young people. I'm going to talk male. I know you're female, Jess, but from my group, so many like Port's one of the worst places in the UK for young male suicide,
Yeah, I
right?
didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I think where it's such a dense populated city that it helps drive those numbers up. But listen, it's still one of the worst. And um there's people just don't know enough. Like my pal Mason who took his life. I just think, mate, there was so much you could have tried before. You just go to the doctors, you get these antidepressants, the antidepressants don't work, you get put on a waiting list, you then see a therapist. The therapist you think's a bit of like bit wet, or you think, oh, just like you like some therapists. I always say, like, you've got to kiss the frogs. You've got to find the one that relates with you, one that you can open up with, one that doesn't want to pull you in. Some people find it beneficial to be pulled into a dark place and relive. Some other people are like, no, leave that where it is. And we're all different people. But I feel like, oh, well, I tried one or two therapists, and a doctor said that they can't help me. But there's so much more. Like you say, take yourself out of the environment. Like Mason, he wasn't struggling with money, that's for sure. He could have easily gone and said, right, 6 months, I'm going to go somewhere completely different and then get away from the noise, the hustle, the bustle, all of it. And I think just doing that could have saved him. But then you
Mm.
talk about like breath work, meditation. Now, if you told someone like Mason, just go and sit with yourself and breathe, you tell you to fuck off. Like, what are you talking about? Do you know what's
Yeah.
going on in my head right now? Like, that's what you'd probably get. But if you understood and knew actually the science behind it and knew the benefits and the different techniques, and we knew in it and understood this, it would have saved his life. Like,
Mm.
and these are all things that could easily be done. Do you know what I mean? And they're not being done. And unfortunately, the person we trust the most when it comes to our health isn't offering that as advice.
Mm.
And I think when you've got someone who's 7 year studies and they're telling you nothing you can do, or here's these antidepressants, and then you think, well, they're not working, that's not worked, he's not giving me no hope. What hope is there? And then you go and get on it for a weekend. You have a sleepless night or a couple of sleepless nights. The impulse is there to push you to do something that is a permanent solution to a short term problem, which
Mm.
is
Yeah,
sad.
that is sad, isn't it? That's the
Mm.
the reality that some people are living in.
It really is. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely, for
Is
sure.
that one of the driving forces behind? 'Cause I know you really want to support
Yeah,
lots of people with like mental health struggles and creating this community so that people have more support.
yeah, 100%. People need to understand that there's so much more out there than going and seeing your doctor. And I know that sounds mental, because it does, but like there's so many more solutions. Um, I think there's a huge problem with masculinity in the world right now, where it's like, don't be masculine. Like, we need our feminine energy. We need our masculine energy. That's what's built this world to where it is today. And at the minute, it's just misconstrued. As everyone's like running around not knowing who they are, what their pronouns are. And I think it's very worrying, because if you look at that community, the LBGT plus Q community, they're the ones struggling the most. They're the ones who are taking their lives the most. And I think when you're constantly being hammered with social media, but a lot in the mainstream media and with TV programs and everything, we're sort of being like told to not be our masculine selves,
Mhm.
and to not and actually women can do what men can do. But great, but we can't do what you can do, because we can't, because you have, Mother Nature. I think the women are the most important divine energy in the world, and I'm a massive believer of that, and I believe the masculine are there to protect that energy. That's
Mm.
that's that's my philosophy on it. And I think people are confused at the moment, and they're walking around a little bit purposeless, They feel weak, whether it's in the mind or the body. I just think people are walking around in a little bit of a daze right now. And I think we need a strong masculine who respects the strong feminine to be able to raise awareness and to be able to offer support. Like men, for instance, don't want to go and talk to their pals. I was that person massively. Like I had a lot of shit going on the farm, finances, friends, accusations, and all whilst I'm trying to do something for mental health. I got invited to go and speak at the COP28 in Dubai, World Peace Summit in New York, and some other platforms too, to go and speak on these matters about mental health. And I thought I was shit. I was like, how am I ended up in Dubai speaking about mental health? Mental, excuse the pun. But I thought I was doing quite a lot. I was helping people, wellness plans, my products, and I ended up having my own mental breakdown, and I ain't lived with my mum since I was bloody 13, and I ended up moving back in with her. I actually turned up outside her house, like uncontrollable. And listen, I don't care. Do you know what I mean? I'll be vulnerable and wear my heart on my sleeve. I broke down massively. I was crying in the car. I was losing my mind, like to the point where I actually thought I had to get sectioned. Like got into my mum's house, like trying to like compose myself, get to the door, and then like fucking just ball out, and like ended up in a ball, like pulling my own hair out, and it was like. And it was only until my mum brought both my brothers round, they come round and sort of put her arm around me. And there's me like, I couldn't bring myself together. And they were like, what's going on? And then I reeled off everything that I was trying to, piece together and trying to solve and trying to juggle. And yeah, it actually speaking up, which I tell people to do and I've been telling people to do for so long, but wasn't doing it myself. We're all our own worst enemy when it comes to taking our own advice. The best people in the world to mentor people, but when it comes to mentoring yourself, I don't know why.
Yeah.
But something in us that just like wants to sabotage ourselves. And yeah, I wasn't. I felt that I was doing enough and whatever else for other people, but I sort of burning the candle at both ends, and I think it burnt me out. Literally, I swear to you, just having that conversation with both my brothers was like weight lifted off my shoulders. Like someone knew, like what I was going through, and that the stresses that I had and the people that I had behind me, and they were making things even harder. And literally a week later, I was like, "Mum, right, cool. I'm ready to get out your house. Sorry for coming in, getting under your feet." She didn't want me to leave because she never see. I feel like I'm quite a strong character, very strong mindset, I believe. And for her to see me like that when I'm usually like the rock in our family to them being, crumbling, she didn't want me to leave. But I was like, I knew what I had to do. I had to build a group and I had to share that story. And I called it Speak. Speak stands for Suicide Prevention, Education, Action, Kindness. We do a peer-to-peer walk. So from Clarence Pier to South Parade Pier, peer-to-peer, sort of, play on words. We do a group fit on a Monday. We do like a meditation that we had been doing, but we're now just taking that online onto a Zoom. We're going to do that weekly, just for 30 minutes. And do you know what? There's something special about that. I know you're massive into meditation and mindfulness. A lot of men aren't, right?
Yeah.
And especially some of the men that I hang about with. And I was like dragging them to my meditation classes. Honestly, just like some of the things that they were saying after, just coming out of a 30-minute meditation, blew their minds away. Literally. I had both my brothers, Charlie and Sonny, and I'm doing all these sessions. I was like, boys, I was like, you're meant to be my brothers. You're asking it, show some support. Come and help me make some numbers up. Show some other people that what I'm doing. Come down. And I picked them both up on the way to this meditation. And by the way, they both forgot. So I'm on my way to them. And they're, oh shit. And then they tried to make excuses. I was like, no excuse. But by the time sorry, my laptop's just about to run out of battery.
No
But by
worries.
the time I got to them, they were having arguments with their partners and they were stressed out from work and all the rest of it. And it turned out once we got him into the meditation, 30 minutes, one of our brothers was actually like tearing up how like mental, like an experience that he just had, because he went from utter chaos, like slamming the door, walking out the house, to then sitting in a semicircle with one person who's into meditation, the rest of us just like here to have a go and see what it's about. To then after being like complete peace with his own mind, went home, like made up with his girlfriend straight away. All problems went away, and that was a 30-minute meditation.
Mm.
And that's to someone who would never ever do a meditation, you know. But I do think as well it's important to do meditation when you're starting, and you'll probably you better know this than me, but just from my experience, is to do a guided meditation.
Yeah.
I think that really definitely helps me, even to today. And I'm someone who massively believes in it and understands it and does it less than what I should. But when I do a guided one, or if I'm in a room with other people meditating, the energy's different, and
Yeah. 100%.
you just lock in. And it's
Mhm.
yeah, I just think everybody needs to go on a wellness retreat once a year and
Yeah.
actually go and experience it with other people who are, spent money, invested, set time out of their busy lives, who are now committed over the next 4 to 5 days of like pure healing and like, that should be a must for everybody.
Yeah, especially in the lives that we're all living now, where everyone's so disconnected and just living on their screens and just in this kind of like toxic culture. It's like more now than ever, we need to turn off,
Yeah.
like come together in groups, in community, and like talk to one another. And yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And like that's a must that needs to happen. Like the what's going on in the world right now, like forget about COVID. That was mental. Yeah. Getting locked into your house, can't be next to someone for 2 meters. It is craziness. Like, the flu kills more people, right? I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but what we've had to endure through media, like fucking Iran got bombed yet last night. Like you waking up like, Russia's about to invade England, and you're like, fucking all sorts. China's going to do Taiwan, and you've got India and Pakistan. Like, you're just every angle. You're just being
Mhm.
fed like hate, fear, and then you've got like Keir Starmer who's like putting like crazy money out the bill to feed other countries, and then you got like there's just all this mentalness going on, and we're expected just to deal with it, and
Mhm.
none of us, and most of us are dealing with it in all the wrong ways, either binge watching TV series on Netflix to take your mind away from it, or watching too much porn, or going for a drink, or all these different distractions that are there designed to hook us, when actually, if we do the things that me and you are very passionate about,
Mhm.
the whole world's ready for healing, right?
Definitely. I just hope we can reach as many people as we possibly can.
Yeah,
I'm on board as soon as possible.
definitely.
What would
Definitely.
you, for someone that is like wanting to change their life and they're ready to like, yeah, change their habits or just live differently, what advice would you give them to like start their journey?
Action is the big thing, you know. Motivation isn't real. You you don't just get a burst of energy. You have to build energy.
Mhm.
And how do you build energy? Build energy by doing. Sitting there thinking about it isn't going to give you enough energy to get up and do it. If you literally, you can snap yourself out of a really bad mood into a good mood by standing up and looking in the mirror and smiling and doing a fake laugh. I don't care who you are. I don't care what mental headspace you're in. You will crack a laugh that will set off some serotonin, dopamine, and it will start to bring you out of a different energy. But so anyone who's thinking, right, I'm ready, I'm so ready, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I don't know what health thing to do first. Just get up and go for a walk in nature would be like the first thing I'd actually say. Just get up, move your body, get in nature and breathe, and get in contact with Rio Vitalize for some oil and a little natural wellness plan. Get in touch with Crystalline method,
Crystalline method, yeah.
Crystalline method. Sorry, but no, but look for community, look for support groups. You might not know what you want to do, but if you know that you want better, then you have to surround yourself around the right people. And sometimes it's very hard to think, well, where do I find these right people? There's communities out there online. There'll be communities in your city or in your village. There will be things, but you have to take action and be proactive and actually go and do it. Because the whole time you sit there saying that you want to do it and you're not doing it, guess what? It's just going to be another negative spiral, which will lead you into the path of depression and anxiety. And then you're back to square one. You're not doing nothing. And then you think, no, I'm going to do it now, but you don't. So just action it. Sorry, it's a long-winded answer.
No, good advice. Good advice. I love it. Yeah. So yeah, just finishing, like looking ahead with Rio Vitalize, what is it? I know you kind of touched on it at the beginning of our chat, but what is it that you want to create? Like how is Rio Vitalize going to evolve and grow and impact more people?
Yeah, so good question. The vision for Rio Vitalize is to awaken the masses with natural alternative. I don't even like calling it alternative. It's natural medicines, right? And that's not just through something you take orally, but I'm talking about mindfulness. It's about exercise. It's about the whole holistic view. Right now, Rio Vitalize is seen as a CBD company. Now, I don't want it to be a CBD company. I want it to be a holistic wellness brand, essentially. But what our plans are is to go to Uruguay. It's to build a wellness retreat there. So we've got we're part of a wider project, which is a piece of land, which is the biggest sugar plantation in South America. Has the largest aquifer, but they're just turning that 6 kilometers, I believe. They're turning it into a tax innovation park to attract businesses, but like forward-thinking businesses, hotel groups. They're building an airport, they're building trains facilities, and we've signed an agreement for us to be the company to build the wellness retreat there. So want to build a wellness retreat there, and I have a different way of. I want to make it accessible to everybody, but in order to make it accessible to everybody, I believe you need to get the successful, the influential people to first experience, believe, and implement, because these are the people that the rest, the masses, suppose look up to. They're the people that they work for, and they're the people that they listen to, whether they like it or not. They're there in the media, whether it's social media or mainstream. So I have a different approach over the next sort of 4 or 5 years, where we want to target the successful in order to be able to trickle that down as a longer vision, if you like. But whilst we have that space in South America and Uruguay, I want to do pop-up retreats, offering our products, offering our service. I want to partner with like-minded people like yourself, Jess, and others. I think the days of competition is gone.
Mm.
I think collaboration is key for a better world, to make more impact. I think collaboration is key. Um, so yeah, I want to collaborate with like-minded individuals and companies, and to make a sort of a mass movement for natural health. Again, long-winded.
Mm. Awesome. Yeah, you're doing awesome things, and yeah, you're really bringing it forward into the world, and it's amazing to see. So yeah, I would love to.
We're trying, and do you know what, Jess? I've been my own worst enemy. I've been praying for the big investment to come. I've been praying for the big partnerships to launch. Praying for my farm in Spain, all the stuff there to get sorted
Mhm.
out, which is now just gone. But I was always looking for, right, we're gonna get this big bit of money, and then we can push it. What I hadn't been doing is the day to day of, like, now I'm doing like 4 or 5 pieces of content a day. I'm
Mhm.
doing long form content on YouTube. I'm really now trying to push. I've been running the groups and things, but it's not had the push behind it because I've always been in the background trying to work out how we get in big money to push it forward in a big way quick. Um, but that's called running before you can walk, and that's when you trip over. And I've scraped my knees one too many times now, so it's right. Let's slowly catch your monkey, and just keep beating the drum of what we're both trying to do, I suppose.
Yeah, and trusting, I guess it will all happen as it's meant to happen, and
Yeah,
the investments will come when they're meant to, and
yeah,
everything will
exactly.
flow.
Yeah, but I think you also need to get yourself into a state of flow to that to happen.
Yeah.
And it's only last night I was watching a video about productivity and getting into flow, and actually we need to trick our minds into getting into flow, because like we said earlier, we're our own worst enemies. We know we shouldn't be doing that, but we're going to go and do it
hmm
because we're constantly being sabotaged by our own brain, because we're constantly seeking comfort.
hmm
There's no growth in comfort. Nothing
No.
happens in comfort. Actually, depression and anxiety thrive in comfort. So the whole time you're trying to trick your brain and trying to push yourself further and pushing the limits, that's where the growth happens. That's where impact can happen. That's where the dominoes happens. And I think that's
Yeah.
where the better world becomes.
Definitely. I speak about that quite a lot, about meeting like the fear barrier or just the comfort zone. It's like you've got to, although it feels really edgy and like uncomfortable, that the moment you push through that, it then expands again, and then you'll meet it again at another point, and then you keep pushing
Yeah,
through.
definitely. Do you know what my one is for this weekend?
What is it?
So I'm taking myself out of my comfort zone this weekend. I've got this big, like, 6, 7 foot banner, scan to win, £100 worth of wellness products, and I'm in the street of central London, and I'm gonna do like a 10-minute set, random people walking past, giving out leaflets, telling a few jokes, trying to educate people about, the whole mess that we are with healthcare, and how a natural approach is better. I actually went to do it last week,
Mm.
no, a couple of days ago, and I done it, and I didn't realize how nerve-wracking it would be. So I was like, this weekend needs to be getting comfortable with being uncomfortable in
Yeah.
that space, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's even like now talking about it, I'm like, because beforehand I was like, yeah, I'll go do that. If I can't say 10 a day, I'll stand shooting. And actually, when I got there, I was like, I couldn't even, like, I was thinking, shit, I've
Yeah.
spoke on some big stages, but this is something that's a little bit different. So I've said to myself that today and tomorrow and Sunday, I'm gonna get comfortable with it. So
Yeah. Keep doing it until it just feels
it,
natural, maybe.
exactly, and it's something that's needed. It's needed. So yeah, that's me getting uncomfortable this weekend.
Oh, good
But
luck with it. I hope it goes well, and
thank you. Yeah, well,
keep
if you
supporting.
follow me on TikTok, Instagram, on YouTube, you'll find me there on Alfie Ruffell 1 for Insta, and TikTok Alfie Ruffell. Same for YouTube. But always look out for our Instagram handles, which is just Rio Vitalize, and you'll see me crumbling maybe in the street, giving out some leaflets, having conversations and whatnot. So yeah, we'll see.
Cool, yeah, thanks for sharing. We'll pop them all in the show notes as well so people can get hold of you and look at all your products and everything. But
Yeah.
before you go, have you got any final words or messages you want to share? If you could share a message with the world, what would it be?
Um, Stop looking for external solutions because everything's solved within. I know that sounds pretty like cliche and a little bit out there, maybe woohoo to some people, but this chasing materialism is bullshit. And once you get there, you'll understand that. And I haven't even got there yet, but people that I speak to and things that I've looked at, I really think that you need to be at peace with self. That should be the aim. That should be the ambition. And when that happens, you're better to be able to help more people. And when you help more people, that's when the money follows anyway, because that's business. It's a service or product to help someone. Someone purchases that, you get money. So actually, change the narrative. Stop chasing money. Money's unhealthy. Chase helping people, money will come. It'll feel much better. That's
Mm,
probably my little outing message there.
thank you. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Well,
Cool.
thank you for your time. And yeah, it's been great having this conversation and yeah, listen to all about your journey and everything. So yeah, thanks for your time,
Oh
Alfie.
no, thank you, Jess. It's been it's been great to jump on and reconnect as well. So
Yeah,
you're
definitely.
healthy as ever, and I'm glad that you and your partner are pushing on and yeah, trying to grow what you're growing. And I'd love to support in any way that I can.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'd love to team up and, create and share and reach more people. So
This is it. Yeah, collaboration's key. So
definitely.
yeah, let's do it. We'll catch up on that at another time. But yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
I appreciate all of this.
The intention of
Awesome.
this
Thanks, Alfie.
podcast is to inspire. I've got loads of interesting people coming here talking all health and things that can upgrade humanity.
Crystalline podcast.